On Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, the United States citizens above the age of 18 will vote on who they want to be the next President of the United States. As all races are nowadays, this one has already gotten off to a heated start. A feud has already broken out on the Republican side between former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And DeSantis hasn't even officially entered the race yet. But before we get into the specifics of the presidential race and where it's at in regards to who's running, who's projected to run, we have to take a look back and observe the things that have led up to the 2024 presidential race. A look at the background will inform how we should look at where things are now. All the way back in 2016, in what feels like an eternity ago, especially since COVID, businessman Donald Trump defeated Senator Hillary Clinton and won the presidency. This was a shock for two reasons: the polls and the popular vote. Almost all the polls projected that Hillary Clinton would win, and she did in a way. She won the popular vote by a wide margin, but Donald Trump won the states that he had to get to the 270 electoral votes needed to secure the presidency. Donald Trump's win continued a pattern that had slowly been forming in American politics, a passionate cry for change. George H.W. Bush won the presidency in 1988. He was a Republican. He was then followed by Democrat Bill Clinton, who was followed by Republican George Bush, who was succeeded by Democrat Barack Obama, and then Republican Donald Trump. Back and forth, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. Donald Trump wasn't a politician. He was a businessman who was on a popular TV show. The swamp of Washington, as Trump called it, was starting to stink, and Donald Trump was a breath of fresh air to the weary American people. He promised big changes, including, quote, draining the swamp. Fast forward to 2018 and the midterm elections. Something happened that continued another pattern that had been emerging. The House flipped from Republican to Democrat. Then, in the 2020 election, the Democrats held the House and flipped the Senate. This was similar to what had happened before. In 2008, Obama inherited a Democrat-controlled House. In the 2010 midterms, the Republicans flipped the House, but the Democrats held the Senate. Then in 2014, the Republicans gained control of the House and the Senate. This is what Trump inherited when he took office. The pattern was partially followed in the 2022 midterms as the Republicans took back the House. But this time it was different. They were projected to win the House by a large margin and win the Senate. This did not happen. They barely won the House and didn't win the Senate. Some theorized that this was because of Donald Trump's election fraud claims. In the 2022 election, Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump, making Trump the first president to serve only one term since George H.W. Bush. In some polls, Trump was winning. There were also some unusual methods of voting that were used more than normal due to COVID, such as mail-in ballots and drop-off ballot boxes. These factors led some to believe that the election was rigged. There was some evidence of tampering, but none that was ever officially proved. Trump claimed that he won the election and had been stolen from him. All this led to the January 6th riot, where thousands of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol in protest of what they claimed was a stolen election. Their hope was to force the House to overturn the results. All this background leads us to today. Joe Biden is the incumbent president, the House is Republican, and the Senate is Democrat. So where is the 2024 race at now? On the Republican side of things, Donald Trump has already announced his campaign for president. If he won, he would be the second president after Grover Cleveland to be elected twice non-consecutively. Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina, is also running. She was the ambassador to the UN from 2017 to 2018. Vivek Ramaswamy has also declared his campaign. He's the executive chairman of Strive Asset Management and was formerly the CEO of Roivant Science. These candidates will first face off for a debate in August of 2023. For the Democrat Party, incumbent Joe Biden has not yet confirmed whether or not he will run in 2024, but he has said if he's healthy, he will run. The only declared Democrat candidate as of now is Marianne Williamson. She's an author and the founder of Project Angel Food. She ran back in 2020 but dropped out in the primaries. There are also candidates who are rumored to run but haven't officially announced yet. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Maryland Governor Larry Hogan are rumored for the Republican Party, and U.S. House member Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii and Vice President Kamala Harris for the Democrats. Harris is expected to run if Biden doesn't. The presidential race is just beginning. I decided to get an early look around the landscape. I interviewed 3 people, asking them a range of questions about politics and the upcoming 2024 election. I started by asking them which Republicans they think will enter the 2024 race.
If I were to pick one, I would probably say Ron DeSantis.
There are several other Republicans that I would consider viable candidates. One is former Vice President Mike Pence.
Former Secretary of State, I think Mike Pompeo, seems poised to run. The Governor of Vermont, Chris Sununu, seems likely to run.
If I were to pick one, I would probably say Ron DeSantis.
I then asked who they thought would win in a Trump-DeSantis primary race.
No, that's it. That's an easy one. I think Donald Trump would take that. It's just Ron is not big as name, and if you're going to vote Republican, you're going to vote for the more aggressive, and he's already known, and he's known what his beliefs are and what he's going to do. So, and Ron is just not out there as much.
I think Donald Trump would probably win if it were a head-to-head matchup like that. If DeSantis can brand himself as someone who is in touch with everyday Americans, that could change things.
Former President Trump, it would have to be considered, at least at this point, the favorite. Governor DeSantis is currently in office, and he is doing things and promoting things, and much could happen in his state, either good or bad, that could change.
No, that's it. That's an
Next, I asked their opinions on the Biden administration.
I want him to give me free college. Not gonna lie.
I think he's done a fairly poor job. Further, he hasn't done anything to alleviate concerns about his age and his competence for the office.
I think he has, for the most part, handled the situation between Russia and Ukraine reasonably well. Many other things I would not give him high marks for, even though the pandemic was largely over. By the time President Biden took office, he continued to use the pandemic as a means to, or as a vehicle to spend a lot more money.
I want him to give me free college.
This led to a big question. Will Biden run again in 2024?
He better not. If he makes it that long, he might. If he makes it that long, he might try.
Why? Why do you think he won't run again?
Because he's gonna die.
I think Joe Biden will run in 2024. So far, he has signaled that he does not think his age is or should be considered a factor in the presidential race.
It seems at this point likely he will run. He clearly does not appear to be mentally strong. He seems rather mentally feeble. He seems easily confused and appears to get tired.
He better not. If he makes it that long.
I then asked why they thought the Republicans didn't perform as well as expected in the 2022 midterms.
I think it's a combination of mainstream media being way more lenient towards the left, and so they're putting a better light on the left while making the right look worse. And Donald Trump was a perfect stage for them to make the Republicans look bad.
By pressing the issues of mass voter fraud that some, including former President Trump, claimed, some of the more moderate candidates and some of the more reasonable candidates were weighed down by that sort of rhetoric.
Former President Trump had significant influence over the electorate, the Republican electorate in the primaries, and he seemed to be successful in promoting candidates that were reasonably popular in the primaries, but that when it came to the general election were at a real disadvantage.
I think it's a combination of
Finally, I asked who they thought the 2024 nominees would be and who would win that presidential election.
I think it will probably be Trump and Kamala Harris, and Trump will probably win.
I think Donald Trump will be the nominee for the Republican Party, and Joe Biden will be the nominee for the Democratic Party. Even though President Trump came across stronger in his debates against Joe Biden, he also seemed somewhat unhinged in some of his attacks. And if he can demonstrate that he has sound judgment and stability of demeanor, I think it could go a long way in persuading the American people that he is the right choice.
What I would say is if the candidates are President Biden and former President Trump, I think it's likely that President Biden would win re-election. If it's not President Biden and it's somebody else against former President Trump, I suppose I would give former President Trump a slight edge there.
I think it will probably be Trump and Kamala Harris, and Trump will probably win.
So there you have it. Now you know the
I
background, the details, and people's opinions of the 2024 election.
Party, and Joe Biden
There's still a
will be
lot of
the
campaign
nominee
to go,
for the Democratic
and this will
Party.
certainly be
Even
an
though
exciting
President
race.
Trump
I'm Seth Myers for SDM 26 News.